Yes, there can be a question. We basics again. Let's from basics. This is how UPSC has it. उन्होंने एक डर पैदा किया है. No, created fear in you. बेसिक कुछ भी पूछ सकते हैं. तो छोटे से छोटा चीज भी बेसिक आ सकता है मेंस में. And that is a challenge for you. This, so they can ask even motion of thanks. It's a role. What is the role and relevance of motion of thanks? This. So any such basic topic which has a bit elaboration can become a question in also mains. This. So that way we can say, although we have told you motion of thanks, etc. while dealing, someone joint sitting, etc. Since joint sitting was asked, you can imagine. Joint sitting में तो और भी people do not know much about joint sitting. This. So anyhow, this question was asked, so that way we can say sectoral aspect. These are some basic already told while teaching you parliament. The one thing we did not tell, or let's hear that also I'll mention, then we'll tell that. That is, give sanctions to bill. This. See, bureaucratic accesses, someone is asking, right? Bureaucratic accesses, when we say, so it's like bills are drafted by bureaucracy. So they know that it is an ordinance, and ordinance it will be for 6 months and 6 weeks. Hence, they can have their own, let's say that usurpation of power, or they can show their own, let's say that excesses in that law making, which favors them, which favors executive. Executive excesses is nothing but in reality bureaucratic excesses. This you should also know. Right? That's why we have just written bureaucratic excesses. Okay. Veto powers. Veto powers. So, you see, based on practices in the world, there are 4 types of vetoes. Right? And generally 3 types of vetoes are practiced in a country. Right? Even in monarchical system, in UK also there is veto system. right? But veto is more known by US president. This way you should know. It has a written constitution. So US president enjoy absolute and qualified veto. Does not have pocket veto. So absolute veto, qualified veto. Suspensive veto is a practice in France. Our president enjoys the first three vetoes. This. See, absolute means simple that when any bill is sent to president, he expresses his view on that. In pocket, view is not expressed. This is the difference, let's say that. Pocket means that you keep it in your pocket, means it is like you do not speak on that anything. That whether you want to give assent, you want to withhold, the view is not expressed. Hence the language is said that the bill is left lying on the table of president. This. So as if the president has not received the bill. This, there are some gray areas in this because constitution has not given clarity. Anyhow, the first bill to be, means first bill where pocket veto was used was Gyani Jail Singh. And that was postal saving bill. The postal savings bill, he used pocket veto, and this is how there was difference between Rajiv Gandhi and it was this bill when president applied his pocket veto, did not give sanction. So Prime Minister was taking legal advice whether president can be impeached for that. This, whether it is violation of constitution. So that we can consider. As far as suspensive veto is concerned, means absolute and pocket. This is the difference. In absolute, either you, means we withhold. When president withholds, it means it ends there itself. Yes, the bill, life of the bill ends there, comes to an end. This, and suspensive veto means you send for reconsideration. Again, when bill is passed with simple majority. The difference between suspensive veto and qualified veto is this. In suspensive veto, there is a simple majority. The way bill has been passed. In case of, let's say that qualified veto in US, so it is called qualified majority. Qualified majority means a special type of majority has been defined. This. So US has qualified veto, India has suspensive, and this is how the difference. And in recent times, a bill which was passed through suspensive veto was Office of Profit Bill. This. So these are the conditions. Now these are legislative powers. This you should understand. Right. This, what we are talking is, veto is a veto powers are legislative powers. Legislative powers. Hence, they are exercised by President in his discretion. Right. In his discretion. Legislative powers he does not exercise on the advice of Council of Ministers. Means when President has to send a bill for reconsideration, or he uses pocket veto, he uses absolute veto, it is legislative power he exercises himself rather than advice of Council of Ministers. Hence, this is the area where he has also constitutional discretion. Although it is very limited. Limited in the sense you know that on constitutional amendment bill, so only let's say bound by this. Bound by, on money bill, suspensive veto is not there. This. So, there are also limitations. Plus, there is no logic, let's say that, when bills are recommended by him, some bills he recommend himself. So when bills are passed and sent to him, there is no logic that he would withhold unless very rare situation. Because you have yourself recommended that bill. The rare situation is that suppose in bill there are certain sections which have been changed or which are arbitrary, which were not initially. So in that situation he can withhold the bill. So again, let's say that even if let's say he exercises himself bills related powers, but there are certain restrictions on that. This. However, you should know exception is that on state bills he enjoys absolute veto. Right. On state bills, whatever the bills from state, including money bill, let's say, so he enjoys absolute veto on that.
So after reconsideration, he cannot use other two vetoes?
No, he cannot use other two vetoes. A veto can be exercised once, and one veto at a time. Right. Once there is suspensive veto, he cannot use absolute veto. Right. So these things can be considered. So just a bit summary you can write. कुछ भी नहीं. No veto power. There is no veto powers on, let's say that, any veto power on constitutional amendment bill. The only thing that he has to do on constitutional amendment bill is to give sanction. Right. No pocket, no suspensive, no absolute. He has to only give sanction once a constitutional amendment bill is passed. It was done by 24th Amendment Act. This. So, few lines you can summarize, like the legislative powers. The legislative powers given to president make him integral part of parliamentary process and business. The president enjoys veto powers. Which in a way are legislative discretionary powers. Which are exercised by president himself, herself, rather than on the advice of council of ministers. However, the council of ministers headed by Prime Minister may tender advice, but it is not binding on president. For instance, when a new Lok Sabha is constituted by a different party, from the outgoing Lok Sabha, from that of the outgoing Lok Sabha, then the new government may tender advice. To withhold the bills pending with president, so that government can bring fresh bills. government can bring fresh bills. Basically, let's say government, new government, when it may have a different ideology, it wants to bring some changes or major changes in those bills. You can say land acquisition bill. The same party, when it was in opposition, it supported land acquisition bill. But when it came to power, it drastically brought change. That resulted into huge difference between ruling means BJP party and UPA. And that's why it feared that in Rajya Sabha it will be defeated. Hence, they did not introduce it. So, plus political reasons are there. Political reasons means they want to take credit. Right? You can see everything is being changed, renaming and all those things. So basically, it is BJP system. It's a new legacy is trying to be established. So Shatabdi ke jagah Tejas Express chalega. Once Tejas Express becomes Tejas, so then gradually Shatabdi will be eliminated. फिर अब लोग तेजस एक्सप्रेस को जानेंगे rather than शताब्दी को जानेंगे. Anyhow, तो ये political होता है, which is not a problem. At that level, it is not a problem. The thing is that Tejas should run also. Tejas should run better than Shatabdi. No, Vande Bharat. Vande Bharat should run better than Shatabdi. This. So that way, naam mein kya rakha hai? So governments do that. So there can be possibility in this situation. Means there are certain such areas or circumstances when Council of Ministers can give advice to President, but in that case, advice is not binding. The way in executive powers case. Right. Largely when we talk presidential discretionary powers, so those things are related to executive powers. It is presumed under, it is a presumption, executive powers we talk, not legislative powers. This, that way you should understand. And this is how, let's say, about legislative powers, right? We can mention, but not at first place. Right. At first place, you should talk what we have told there. Because its connotation is that. Its connotation or question, or let's say that when we talk presidential discretion, largely we talk in relation to executive. This, not in relation to legislature. So, one point you can add towards end that he has also some legislative discretionary powers. But they should not be first, second, let's instance. That is the difference. When a candidate does not know, so he will start writing those legislative things, veto powers, rather than actual what question is demanding.